is just a place in Dante's Inferno, man. And that's the lowest litmus test of morality, to oppose genocide. And when you deny genocide, when you actually enable genocide, that cannot be the only option to fascism.
Right. Did they, just one more on this, did they offer you a cabinet position, a lower position, and offer to pay off any of your campaign debt?
Well, they offered serious substantive conversation about all of those that could lead toward real
Gotcha.
You know,
and it's also interesting because you mentioned those religious leaders invoking Martin Luther King, but maybe they should look up Martin Luther King, because he would have been outside with those protesters, ceasefire protesters, sitting in. He was ardently against Vietnam.
Well, you think that, I mean, LBJ actually responded to the Black Freedom Movement with civil rights acts and voting rights acts and open housing acts with anti-poverty programs, and everybody responded to both trade union movement as well as just left movements as a whole. So those were very significant. So for Martin to break from that particular president, see, that's qualitatively different than breaking from Biden or Harris. I mean, good God Almighty. And you see all the lies that they're telling about Biden. Like he was the greatest president, the most pro-working class president with our excellent economy. And you say, my God, how can anybody credibly make that kind of statement? There was some significant legislation he was able to push through in bipartisan. But in terms of pushing for World War III, in terms of enabling genocide, the architect of a crime against humanity called mass incarceration, Glass-Steagall. We can go on and on and on with Biden, and now people want to put him on Mount Rushmore. You can see the level of lies that the Democratic Party is willing to tell in order to make their grab for power. And that's all we have. We're in deep trouble, man.
And can you talk about, because obviously you are getting the heat, not just from, establishment Democrats, but even some progressives who are trying to push you, they love you, but they feel you're going to enable Trump, and to them, stopping Trump is more important than ending this neoliberalism. What's the difference for you? Because in 2020, you decided, I'm going to hold my nose, vote for Biden, and encourage others, but then 4 years later, it's obviously you've made a different calculation. Why now do you feel like Trump is less of a threat? And how do you answer people who challenge you that this is the man talking about, joking about being a dictator, weaponizing the Department of Justice, mass deportations, and you could potentially enable that if a couple thousand votes go to you in Michigan and elsewhere?
Well, one, whatever votes go to me were not necessarily votes that would go to Harris. I mean, that we got to keep that very, very clear. Most of the people who vote for me would never have anything to do with Harris anymore, and anything to do with the Democratic Party anymore. What the Democratic Party needs to do is have a Socratic moment, examine itself, and try to shift policies in such a way that they speak to some of the issues that we're talking about. It seems to be structurally unable to do that, given the role of big money and big military, and given the kind of illusions that it lives in. But what I would say is that each and every citizen needs to critically reflect and make their choice and vote. And I make my case. Harris makes a case. Trump makes a case. Stein makes a case. Claudia De La Cruz makes a case. Other socialist parties and libertarian parties make a case, and the citizens vote.
Right.
Making sure they have choices available. That's bottom line.
And, I'm curious what you think, because the Democratic Party, they are, and their media accomplices, in my view, are frantically calling you, Jill Stein, RFK spoilers, pushing you to get out. But it seems to me they're causing this because they won't allow a fair primary. I mean, I assume you might have considered running in the Democratic primary if they didn't do what they did to Bernie 2 times. You saw it up close. But as I tell people, don't think just running third party is any less rigged. I mean, they just challenged you in Michigan and temporarily got you off the ballot. I know you're going to court against that over, technical issues. They've been fighting you with their army of lawyers, the Democratic Party, to get you off ballots elsewhere. So their big theme is democracy, yet you, Jill Stein, even RFK, all they are doing is trying to stop people from having more choices.
And you're absolutely right. You saw it internally in terms of no primary. Sister Mary Ann and others hardly had a chance. Then it becomes a third party and the various legal teams coming at us tooth and nail. Though, brother, I'm getting all letters from lawyers being my beloved wife Anna Yita. We're getting all these letters coming at us. Some of it personally targeted in terms of a lawsuit. Some of it's against the parties, our party, Justice for All. And yet we're on the move, man. We're going to be on a good 45 states with a combination of Justice for All party and these marvelous small parties. You know the story, the United Citizens Party and Black Party in South Carolina that Clyburn himself founded in '69 when he was a rebel and an insurgent. The Aurora Party in Alaska, salute them, Progressive Party in Oregon, Unity Party in Colorado, Natural Law Party that has been so open to us, children of the earth all around the world. And also to send a message to the younger generation. You all don't have to sell out. You all don't have to give up and simply accommodate yourself to the rot in the two-party system.
Absolutely. I don't know if you saw, I was shocked when I saw this last night. Chris Cuomo used to be a CNN anchor, now is at News Nation. He was on the floor at the Democratic National Convention, and he said, let me pull you in on a little secret. All these good vibes and all, they're talking about, the Democrats are talking, we're going to go after corporations, we're going to go after price gouging. He then told his cameraman, can you look up? All these boxes are donors up in the top of the arena, and these same Democrats and all politicians, not just Democrats, there's a conflict because those are the people funding this, and they're not going to regulate those people.
These are the men and the women that go back to their constituencies and their communities, and they fight. They take time from their jobs. They take time from their families. Republicans and Democrats alike, that's what they do. They need to charge these people up. They need to be able to get them on board. But there's another reality that is literally looking down on them. Greg, look at the ring of sweets, okay? This is not unique to Democrats. There is a game of money. When people talk about uniparty, we are strangled by the money reality in our politics. Those suites start at $500,000. You think there's like a teacher group up in there? You think it's like the Cub Scouts of Columbia County, South Carolina, that's up in those boxes? Some of them are lobbies and good things. The media boxes, you think they're free? Why do you think I'm on the floor? News Nation is not a broke company. Nexstar is a massive organization. We are corporate media. We don't have one of those boxes because that's the game. You pay to play. Those boxes are filled with the same people that they say they're going to regulate. They are literally looking down on the faithful and being told, yeah, we're going to break down on them. We're going to make them pay their share. They paid $500,000, $700,000, $1 million, $1.5 million to have those seats. They get hotel suites that are probably gifted to the party. And the same thing is true with the Republican side. And they're going to take them down. They're going to change how it is. They are looking down from on high at the people who make the difference in their communities. And that is the reality of politics.
I had never seen that on corporate media. I don't think he would have been allowed to say that on CNN. But credit to him, it was truth. But I look at these conventions, I cover the RNC in person, the DNC in person, most of these political campaigns. It just seems to be a lot of, hundreds of millions of dollars in political branding and theater. But at the end of the day, as he pointed, those donors are paying $500,000 per box. And I don't think they're paying unless they're getting something in return. And you don't hear that in the coverage on CNN, MSNBC. Do you think that whether it's the DNC, RNC, political elections, campaigning, the system in general, most people don't know that?
That's true. You know, my dear brother, the great Glenn Ford, Glenn used to say that it's professional wrestling at a low-grade level, where the decisions have already been made. The big money people are invisible behind the scenes, but having tremendous impact. And that's why I salute yourself, brother Tim Black, Sister Savvy, Amy. I'm talking about those few truth tellers in a corrupt media system trying to tell the truth against the grain, very limited resources, just like our campaign, broke as the Ten Commandments, financially, right? But still moving on step by step by step. Tab Smiley and the others who are trying to hold on to some legacy of the journalists who told the truth, from T. Thomas Fortune and Ida B. Wells Barnett, my old brother I.F. Stone, who I used to break bread with many years, show you how old I am. But he was a truth teller in the context of journalism. But this is
Okay, so I'm going to stop it right there. That was the Cornel West reveals Dems offered him money, a job in the Harris administration. He does not, as Ben Delivers, he does not go for the Dems. He does not go for the corrupt parties because his day and time was, different than they are now, and it's a lot more corruption and dishonesty. And can you blame him? You know what I mean? Can you actually blame him? Oh, my mic is all twisted up and just crazy. But with that being said, I'm proud of Cornel West for I had the pleasure of meeting him, and he trained me in civil rights, one of many. And I was very honored and to really be right there one-on-one with his intelligence. The integrity and value and morals that he upholds is everything that you see. And in person, it's even more, it's a strong energy. And Mr. Cornell is the real deal. And sure, along the line, all of us have made mistakes and maybe said things, but you grow over time. And them paying him to move is nothing more than a sick, twisted plot. He's going to do 400 city tour, I think he said, different places to campaign for presidency. We don't know what that looks like. I mean, God forbid, we didn't know that Biden would win, but he won. And we're thankful. And we're thankful for Martin Luther King and all those, the Black Panther Party, that all of those that pushed, the churches, Miss Aretha Franklin, all of those soul singers, Motown, and people like myself, Sonny, Sonia, Chantel, who came along and made a difference, in movement with my catalogs, and became a journalist and politician, a mother, evangelist, doing evangelistical mission works while being abused and raped and pimped and exploited by gatekeepers, having strength through blood, sweat, tears, and humiliation that I still go through today. A survivor, a death survivor, cultural, church, cult abused, industries abused, and here I am, and in politics, studying and getting certified and going to school, and being trained, the Harris admission is a fraud, they're illegal, and it just shouldn't be there. Should everybody like that, even Trump, when he scorched the votes. Look, a fraud. Why are you there? You shouldn't be there. It's unfair. But You know, he became president. And she's VP. So that lets you know that America is what is rumored to be. I mean, it shows itself. What you show yourself study to be approval. And it's out there. The Harris turned away people at the DNC convention, other conventions, U.S. Assembly seats, you know, reminded us that South Africa and others were not allowed to be taken seriously upon cliques and favoritism and ethnic prejudice and bias and prejudice and segregation that still goes on within supremacists. So on the Jordan show, he interviewed Dr. Cornel West, and he highlighted in the 1930s and that the 1940s in a political way when, you know, the days of our grandmothers and great-grandparents did not speak much because that was a time where, you know, you were still getting lynched, you know, segregation, and you wasn't allowed to speak out, you know, and there were plenty who did. Now, come on. There's plenty who kept the movement going. And we're thankful and honor of those people. But he made me want to take some notes to speak out, you know. And my grandparents was the same. You know, you don't speak out, you don't say nothing, you don't talk like that. But I grew up to be completely opposite. How I got into politics today. Well, global analysts, you look at the algorithm of topics touched on, and as he said, it's the rottingness at the center, the core. Dr. Martin Luther King touched on great topics and highlights wonderful freedom and how good and important it is to be free to fight for our children. You know, our freedom of speech, not the Elon Musk version, but respectful. Not saying it any kind of way, because it really does matter. But reminding ourselves of history. So they wanted him to drop out like they do everybody else who wants to step on their toes. Their what did he say? The dim corruption. That's what it is. It's all about money. The way they move, their sway. It's all about fashion. It's not taken seriously. It's all about, it's a gangster type of movement. And it's no different than the street way. Never really have been. Biden, he dropped out, of course. You know, some things that had to be done. But Harris and others in the Dem are corrupt and offered Cornel West money and threatened him with legal letters and etc. And I don't approve of that. And I'm very disappointed. The offers made to him, of course, are corrupt because you can't do that. They wanted him to get on a bandwagon. And Harris has never been to Europe. She's a liar. She's not Asian. Her father spoke out against her. She's not a lot of things that we see. These fraud religious leaders, politicians, wannabes, celebrities, working class, who are anxious, incomplete fact check, you know, any and everything up there that they're coming to the table with this position that I am, and they're not. Posing to be legit, and just where's the real right way to do politics? And it has not been done lately that way, and that's really sad. As he highlighted, you know, bearing witness, being a unity, a party. You know, once upon a time, the Dems were the Dems and the Republicans, they were them, you know, being who they are. But you upheld what you stood for. The Maxine and the Jackson who just passed. You know, in our committees, those people, the face of our county, our country, our democracy, our constitution, our amendments. I'm very upset. I'm just babbling on. I'm very upset. I'm really talking about something here. But I'm so upset and disgusted by what I'm going through, what I'm listening to, our reality in Dems, in politics, in both GOP, in House, in Congress. I'm sickened by it. That's why I don't, in a way, I don't mind not being there. Although my presence is very important, but I fear for my life. I was there, wasn't I? But look what happened. Oh, they tell you the lies. The superficial, supernatural religion that they throw out there with these cult witch leaders. It's not the works of God, of Faith Nation. The IRS criminal cover-up with Harris administration. As Cornell highlighted, 45% of the 1% in culture, in Black Caucus, and success rate. He said, don't fight the fascism. The roots of the Dem parties is corrupt on both sides. It's no different than gangster movement and activity. And they just trying to be cleaner with it, but it's the same difference. I agree with that, my words, that they are both crooked on both sides. One may be a little worse than the other, but what's the difference, right? The alternative, the solutions I came up with, they would never do it or go for it. It may happen for a little bit, but not for long. Because our biblical text once again highlights us that the world would get worse. So your solution is you get better. Train your family in a way that they should go. And you can do other things, but do the best that you can do. And let God continue to be the judge. In our reform, our justice, our civil, judicial, watch, executive, all the branches, legislative, all corrupt. So many changes. Seem like it's getting worse. Seem like the more cry and pity, patheticness is happening. Genocide. Ignoring and throwing things out and around and about. Killing off strange happenings. I've been there to see them, to sense it, to feel it. The insight, the intellect that they lack. Some. Genocide can't take the conclusion, our notion, happenings, daily destroying ethnic groups, aiming and aimed, and it repeats the risk, the assessments, primarily focused on the gap that we see. Wrongful attention, wrongful clicks. But, you pay, you can get in. You pay to stay, you pay to play. The outbreaks, the control, the puppeteer, gatekeepers. This is government. This is our democracy. Heinous acts. Current, future, the cleansing, the awareness needed to happen through our campaigns, through us getting out there being booed, to make change, to volunteer in our communities and with our allies. And many good things are happening. But do they outrank the bad? Well, we see that November is approaching. How are we going to catch it, snatch it, hold it, uphold it? There are going to be stakes high, both threats, both nervousness, the energy, the plot, the movement, cabinet position takeover is sickening. Being paid to throw Cornel West in there. And he denied. I don't blame him, It's pretty hard to sit around a table and your leader is the apocalypse. With tits. Civil rights, voting, corruption, hostile takeover, tampering with the sounds, with the slide presentation, with the seats and party and promotion of campaign, of media, press, exaggeration. The hidden of the truth. Dems, Republicans are both delusional. Maybe not everybody, but it looks like most. Allegedly, it looks like all. Because without God, how can we lead, guide, give word? How can we be honest when God says, seek the kingdom? The kingdom, and all the things will be, and the righteous will be added. How can we, when we don't get up and pray and say, thank you, Lord, what now for today? What now for the season? I'm not saying you don't. I'm just saying for those that we see out there who are corrupt, fraud, fake, liars. They investigate and they find the truth of corruption. Not the mistakes you made. No one's talking about that. I love the interview that he gave. What is this young man's name? I think it's Jonathan. Well, anyways, the title is Cornel West reveals Dems offered money, job in Harris administration if he would drop out of the 2024 race. Now, how low down is that? Why she didn't drop out of the 2020, 2021? She came out of nowhere. She's done horrible things. Illegal IRS corruption, hiding employee and covering up. Automatically, she's ineligible. But do you see what they're doing? Trump indicted. Do you see what they're doing? What does politics look like today? A whole gangsterling operation. Money. Involving everybody that wasn't available multiple years ago in a certain way, and then in a certain way it was. We have to fight. Get the IRS out of here and let's do that in a different way. Set it up a different way if we want to be fair. But are they doing that? They investigated it. I'm going to continue to push that they do something about it. And every time that I do, I notice in the media that change is made. And higher up. In my position on the UN General Assembly. And hello to you, Mr. Cornel West. It's been such a long time. Rainbow Push Coalition into the Black Panther parties and those and other similar parties, that was liberation type organizations. I don't blame you if you don't want to be a Dem. I don't blame you if you don't want to be Republican. The rule is to stand in the middle and figure out how to do it right. I think that's where I'm going to be. I'm finding my way. How are we seeing that Kamala Harris is promising us all of these policy changes? Looters are looting. She's not been to the border. She's not been to Europe. She's not proven in her blood with a DNA test. She can't pronounce her own name. She laughs hysterically and nothing's funny. She makes examples and it's nonchalant. It's foolishness and it doesn't make any sense. Biden was better. It's time for him to rest. He had a good run. But something's wrong. The committee, the judicial, the gap in the House, the judicial system. I believe that witchcraft plays a part in all of it. These cults know who God is, know that God is in control. We have to pick up and move on. If you are moving out of America, you are smart. If you are moving out of countries that are killing you and hurting you, you are smart. The world is running all over the place trying to find an answer. Trying to find love and peace. And the only way you're going to find that is with God, with Yeshua. You got to build a relationship so that he can talk to your intellect, to your spirit, to help you keep your sanity. Do right by people so that good can come back to you, even when it seems like good is not out there. He will provide and make a way, even when it seems like there's no way to be made, no money to be given. It will fall. It will just appear from the heavens. An angel of the Lord will come and drop it off. He'll send a stranger to give it to you. Don't worry about what people say about you and that you can't make it unless it's for them. That couldn't be further from the truth. That's a lie. You can, and you will, and you shall. There's a message in the clouds. The 10 Commandments is not dead. The biblical text in King James Version, the apostolic doctrine, is not dead. Our democracy, maybe. Our Constitution, maybe. Our amendments, maybe. Our policies look like they are. What do we uphold and why? And why should we get the people to vote if the VP if she came in illegal and not legit? If Biden's gone. And it seems like the little last hope we had is retired and resting, finishing up his job. And we applaud him. Trump, delusional, gone crazy, mad, and nuts. Because what he answered to took him. Although he's here. And he may have apologized. Is it sincere? I don't know. I hope so. I ride for any human and any mankind, any woman, any child, any human being that offers an apology and means it and is sincere and there is change. Because when you're really sorry and you have remorse, it will follow you. What's the sense of going to the ballot when the migrants are being praised over any country that you're in and you don't take care of your own country? That's not a jealousy fight or term. That's a question raised and should be answered. And then when the governor and the mayors give the accountability and responsibility into that attention to make change and policy fair. That's why it's called a Fair Act Rights Law. Now we're talking. What does change look like to you? What does revisiting our reforms and constitutional laws that we uphold as United States of American citizens, what does that uphold with money, with paying us our stipends, like Canada, like the Canadians have? Why, Republicans, can't we have that? That'll be less problems for you to keep on revisiting the same exact bill. Why don't you think it's time to act now? I know, and I've been there with the rich keeping the rich richer, poor keeping the poor poorer. But what about just pouring into the poor and making change? What about giving more so that there can be more? Give more territory to those who are sane, responsible, and ready, competent. Disposable, shift in our structures, as Cornel West said, our policies, and I add to it to not neglect our vote And the case is, I add to his words as well, the Judicial Watch, I add the gap in the reform in the bill on the committee house. Stop ignoring, stop taking too long to vote what needs to be voted in to do right. If you don't believe it, fine. You voted against it, whatever. But we have got to find answers, and now. And I say, everybody has died out waiting for that change. And I say, it is time for bipartisan to look different. I say it's time for our Constitution to look different. I say it's time for democracy to just be different. I say it's time for our amendment rights to be different. I say it's time for Faith Nation to be different. Not one world, not one faith, not one government, not non-denomination. The old way was the best way, although the new way can be elected, can be redirected while carrying the old amendment and redirecting it to being fair. Example, your religion, not non-denomination, you're conflicting things. Too much going on. But of course you're going to do what you're going to do. With our Constitution, with our amendments, with our democracy, what are we doing in the House, in Congress? What are we doing in the White House? Cocaine found in there. Trump in office and the attorney making all the decisions. Harris hadn't had a meeting with Biden for a year or more. What in the world is going on? Because my studies don't look like abandonment or neglect. And so you say, why I'm not there? And Trump said, well, don't let people like that be counted. That couldn't be further from the truth. Because doing work from where I am is arm's reach. I'm getting more things done and higher up and with my team of UN than you are standing there. So again, what does it look like to you? Where are we going? What does it feel like? What do you dream? What are your vision? What do you envision? The DNC National Convention, I didn't even go. I didn't have the money. But if I had, I probably would have just dropped in and left. We have to change who sits in those boxes at the DNC. UN, NATO, Congress, judges, honest politicians. We need to change who sits up in those boxes and makes changes. We're going to regulate them, then regulate them. And I say do it now. I say put the bill judicial through the system now. I say vote in now to vote them out. We can get money. Money ain't never been a problem. You brag to be the richest, strongest country on the planet Earth. Then you don't need them corruption to sit around us. Biasness to sit around us. Foolishness and shenanigans to sit around us. But rather the working class citizens who are taxpayers. And fix our taxes. And fix our identities. So that we can make politics look like politics. And feel like it. And be fair. That's my time. The Chantel Hart Show blog website has yet to come up. I have a WordPress. That stuff is outdated. It was also hit by perpetrators, gatekeepers, and government informatives who want me to be silenced, but I cannot. The Chantel Show Radio LLC is now the new name, the new face. ED Diplomacy Alliance podcast with an S on Instagram. Shan Reacts. YouTube as well as on TikTok. The Chantel Hart, drop the heart, the word T at the end of heart, and add a 3. So the Chantel Hart 3 at Twitter. And Dr. Chantel Maxwell at Facebook. Tip the Jars at Tumblr as well as Twitter. Anchor.fm /DENICE-H Anchor.fm /Enised Diplomacy Alliance.